What it is. Happy Wednesday. Normally it's Taco Tuesday. Today is Taco Wednesday. Do you know why? Well, you know what they say about Donald Trump. Trump always chickens out. That's what it stands for. Trump always chickens out. I guess I should have predicted it yesterday when I told everybody to buy gold because the world is about to end because Trump is never going to back down. But people who know better knew that Trump always chickens out when he sees the stock market go down, basically. So I guess that's what happened yesterday. We talked about financial catastrophes on yesterday's show. We talked about the necessity to hold gold or silver because the world was coming to an end. The world order was breaking down because Donald Trump has lost his mind and he keeps threatening people. And he was threatening people over Greenland. He said there was no way out. I mean, he said it. He said there was no way out. And he did it with Iran, too. It seems to be a theme. It happened with tariffs the first time, too. He said he was going to do it. He said he was going to do it. He said he was really going to do it. He said he was really mad. But anyway, in the end, he just totally backed down. Didn't get anything as far as I can tell. We'll see. I don't think he actually achieved anything that we couldn't have already achieved without all the drama and without breaking down all the relationships and without people deciding that they want to sell our stuff, our government treasuries, and maybe not trust us anymore. So Prague said, looks like he's gotten a deal on Greenland. It doesn't seem like any different than the deal that was already always on the table. It doesn't seem like it to me. You can listen to it, though. You can listen to his description of it. We might get some part of Greenland. Apparently, the odds are in the favor of us getting some part of Greenland. There is some reporting on that, but Trump didn't say it and NATO didn't say it. So I'll show you. He came in, he gave his speech at Davos. But when he gives speeches now, I don't know what's wrong with him. He's very low energy lately, particularly in his press conference yesterday and in his speech at Davos today. It's just very hard to get through. Actually, it's just not very exciting. For me, at least. And I have to kind of listen to it because I come here and I tell you guys what happened and everything. I couldn't even get through this whole one. I'd listened to some of it and then I just pulled some clips for you. So we have some clips from Davos, the World Economic Forum, where all these rich people meet, where they plan the new world order over and over and over again. So in this case, though, yesterday, we were looking at like we were on the verge of catastrophe. People were selling U.S. assets. Gold was going to the moon. And it looked like the world was about to end. Our relationship with NATO was over. Everybody hated us. And now it seems like things are, kind of back to normal. Although, it'll probably be hard to repair the breakdown in trust from all of the threats and drama that led up to it. So I'll just show you what he said. He said, we're not going to militarily invade. We're not going to do anything, actually. And we're just going to cooperate with Denmark like we would have been able to the whole time. Like they were telling us the whole time. We could build our Golden Dome. We could have as many military bases as we wanted. We could dig around for rocks. I'm talking about minerals. Just being weird about it. So we can dig around for rocks. We can kind of do whatever we want. But I think that's the deal. So I'll play you guys what he said. Kind of a slow news day. We can talk about ICE a little bit. No new development, just some video coming out, some protesters being mean to the head of ICE that's there, a gas station refusing service to ICE. And then yesterday, there was a statement by the Minnesota police. There are Fourth Amendment violations going on left and right, is what it seems like. And depending on which side you're on, you either justify that Well, I was tuned into a show yesterday. I tune into Tim Pool sometimes, even though it's unbearable to listen to. But they played the same clip I'm going to play you guys about how ICE is throwing out the Constitution as far as the Fourth Amendment goes, which is our right to just be able to walk around and live in our house without the police breaking in and arresting us without a warrant or some good reason to do so. That's the main thing I'm concerned about as a libertarian kind of person, someone who likes the Constitution, who likes being able to walk around and not get arrested for nothing. I appreciate what we have, the freedoms that we have in this country. You have the freedom to go for a jog without your identification on you. Or I played pickleball today. I didn't bring my wallet. And if ICE stopped me and asked me for ID, I'm not required to provide that for them. But if I wasn't white and I was walking around Minnesota without my ID, apparently I just get arrested. So I will show you what they're doing about that. They're also claiming rights to break into your house without a warrant also if they suspect something. So that's what's going on. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's just kind of a weird time because a lot of people just justify it because there are so many people that have been let in. So we'll talk about that a little bit at the end of the show. So I will show you guys the clips. Oh, a little talk about CBDCs today, a little talk about Bitcoin today. So we can talk about that when the news, and let's play the intro and then I'll talk about stuff. Well, we don't want to talk about anything before the intro. So we have to play the intro, then grift, then go on to actual content. So you get something. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in for all these shows. I appreciate you. Want to give you the news every day, even when it's sort of a slow news day, but I guess this was big news. So anyway, here's the intro. Okay. Cue musical intro. Once again, it's delayed. Boy, that's brilliant. Show. Okay. Cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant.
So looking back,
I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news.
So looking back here at home domestically, last year you worked with Congress very closely, Republicans in charge of both the House and the Senate, and of course you're in the White House, and you worked with them on the big, beautiful bill. For 2026, especially in a midterm election year, what is your goal for Congress in terms of getting your agenda through? What is on the agenda? What expectations do you have for Congress?
Well, one of the things I'd like to do, we pass so many executive orders. I have great executive orders that are really common sense and good and like water coming out of a sink. The water wouldn't come out. They had all sorts of ridiculous restrictions. I took all of that off. Coming out of the shower head, you'd stand under a shower, there's no water coming out. So I passed so many things like that. Straws. They don't have to be paper anymore. They don't have to melt in your mouth. So I passed so many different things like that and much more important things, but like that. They're important, the quality of life. And I'd like to have all of that confirmed by Congress if we can. And we've done a lot of it. We've done probably 35, 40%.
Sorry. What did you do in 2026? Water can now come out of your faucet, and we banned paper straws, or we made sure you can have plastic straws. I appreciate that, actually. That is what I voted for. So thank God. Thank God my shower head gives me better pressure. But I thought it was pretty funny. He's like, what do you want to accomplish in 2026? Well, let's make it a law that just make sure that the paper straw thing goes away. So somebody in the chat says, David says, we will get Greenland. Yeah, I'll bet you. You want to bet? I'll bet you we don't get Greenland. I'll show you what NATO says. I'll show you what Trump says. We're not getting Greenland. We're going to be able to do what we were going to be able to do before. So this is what deal making looks like. Yes, Art of the Deal is trending on Twitter. But it's what they said all along. I'm sorry, I'm already getting ahead of myself. If you want to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil, and you can buy coffees. They're virtual. They're not real coffees, but you can buy them virtually and with different forms of payment at buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. No tax on tips, and they are tips. And you can leave a note, and I'll read it at the end of every show. And you can leave it anytime. It doesn't have to be during the show, like a super chat. They take a small portion, not like YouTube, and they pay me quickly, which is great. You can also buy our t-shirts by going to Truth Revolution Clothing. That's at truthclothing.io. Oops. It froze me. There's that right there. You can buy any of these shirts. Most of them are $10 and $5. It's a liquidation sale. Take advantage of it while you still can. Have got a lot of great designs on there. Our propaganda shirt with all the news networks, question everything. Our Bitcoin shirts, which we're going to talk about Bitcoin today. They talked about Bitcoin at the WEF. I think I still believe in it long term. It should be the future, but I'll talk about it today. Bitcoin Saves sweatshirt. You can buy your question everything in female styles in several different colors. Lots of female designs on the site, including our Lift the Veil shirt in a female slouchy for $5. You can buy your Last American Vagabond shirts and your Freedom of Face Made in America with American grown cotton shirts. Those are only $5 too. Everything's cheap, inflation free at truthclothing.io. Buy them in multiples. They're good to sleep in. They're very comfortable. They're mostly cotton, if not all cotton. Then they're very nice materials. I wear them every day. I'm wearing it right now. So thanks for doing that at truthclothing.io. All right. So what happened today? Nutfugget says, I think I still believe in Bitcoin. What the fuck, Nate? Yeah, I think I do. Well, it's just the trouble is gold is what people like better these days. So I'm just curious about the long term. I just don't know for sure. It is good. It's like gold. It's better than gold. I know it is. But people don't like it. And people treat it like it's a stock. That's the only thing. So today, just talking about Bitcoin and gold and silver, the day opened before Trump made his speech, before he tacoed, and gold was up a lot and silver was still up a little bit because that's the trade for safety. And Bitcoin was down. Bitcoin was down big. It went down to like 87. And then Trump tacoed, and then he said he wasn't going to do tariffs, and gold went down and Bitcoin went up. They're supposed to be the same thing. That's all. Bitcoin is supposed to be a safe haven asset. It's supposedly designed for times like these. And it's just not behaving that way, unfortunately. So I just don't know what's going to happen with it immediately. I plan to buy some more. I have some still. And I plan to buy more just at a much lower price after Michael Saylor's financial schemes blow up. That's all. Michael Saylor has a number of Ponzi schemes he's running with financial instruments. The main one being STRC. I'm just waiting for that to depeg and for him to go bankrupt. And then I will buy his Bitcoin at a much lower price, perhaps. Or Bitcoin will go up and Michael Saylor will be a genius and I'll still have gold and stuff. And I'll just live with my decisions. But we'll see. So I don't know the future, but I do think that there is a Ponzi scheme going on involving financial instruments on the stock exchange that pay impossible interest rates. Michael Saylor has a stock that pays 11% interest and is supposed to be fixed at $100. And it is right now. It uses it to buy Bitcoin and somehow pays 11% interest. But that's what Luna did too. And Luna wiped a bunch of people out. It was kind of similar, I think. So I'm a little concerned. That's all. I'm concerned. I'm looking for safety. That's all. I'm looking for safety because I need to conserve what money I have because I have very little. So, but in the future, yes, Bitcoin should, and will most likely be good, much higher, most likely. But you can also buy a cryptocurrency version of gold now too, which you can trade along the blockchain. So that changes things a little bit too. So anyway, that's what's going on with those things. Bitcoin's at 89. It rebounded. Now it's down a little. It's at 89.6 right now. Even though gold and silver went down, they didn't go down that much. Gold is still above yesterday's close. It's still at $4,800. And if you want to buy an ounce of American gold, it's still going to cost you $5,000. Silver's at 92.40. So we're still looking good as far as that trade goes. The safety trade. So, which is the dollar collapse theory, because the rest of the world still probably kind of hates us, but maybe less than they did yesterday because of Trump chickening out on getting Greenland. But at least one person in the chat thinks we are going to get Greenland still. Art of the deal. One thing about getting Greenland is if we made it into a state, that would be bad for Republicans because they're socialists there. And the other thing about us offering them a lot of money is they get everything for free in Greenland because they have this socialist state. They get like 1 year of paid vacation if they have a child. They have totally free healthcare with no deductibles. They have all kinds of other socialist policies in Greenland, which we wouldn't do probably as Americans because we don't have that kind of socialism. But if we made them a state, then we'd get 2 socialist senators and 1 socialist congressman, which would probably be bad. Busted Muffins kept saying Iceland. Yeah, I have that. He did get a little confused today. He is old. He's an old dude. So anyway, that's what's going on. That's a little economic news. As far as people selling treasuries, following up our news from yesterday, somebody else made an announcement that they're selling all of our treasuries. So as far as the financial collapse theory and the interest rates going up theory and the dollar collapse theory, that still is a possibility. One of Sweden's pension funds cut their treasury holdings today, citing U.S. politics. So it's because we run huge deficits. We run $2 trillion deficits, and we are now considered a risk as far as holding our treasuries, which makes them go down in price and makes the yield go up, which makes mortgage rates higher, will make property prices crash, and so forth. So that's still happening. That trade is still happening. All right, here's Trump today. Let's see. Here's Trump today, where he confused Greenland with Iceland temporarily.
But in doing it, I'm helping Europe. I'm helping NATO. And I've until the last few days, when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They called me daddy, right? Last time. Very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being. But now what I'm asking for is a piece of ice, cold and poorly located, that can play a vital role in world peace and world protection. It's a very small ask compared to what we have given them for many, many decades. But the problem with NATO is that we'll be there for them 100%. But I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. If we gave them the call, gentlemen, we are being attacked. We're under attack by such and such a nation. I know them all very well. I'm not sure that they'd be there. I know we'd be there for them. I don't know that they'd be there for us. So with all of the money we expend, with all of the blood, sweat, and tears, I don't know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we have an unbelievable future in that stock. That stock market is going to be doubled. We're going to hit 50,000, and that stock market's going to double. in a relatively short period of time because of everything that's happening. But there's a good example.
There you go. So it was the stock market. He basically kind of admitted it there. And then he did call it Iceland. And then his press secretary came out and said it was a lie, that people were saying that he called it Iceland, but I just played it for you. He definitely called it Iceland a number of times. Who cares? It's icy. It is ice. It should be called Iceland, and Greenland, and Iceland should be called Greenland, because Iceland is green and Greenland is icy. So it's an acceptable mistake to make. I don't care. I'm not going to make fun of him because he called it Iceland, just that he did. That's all. And then he did mention the stock market going down. That's basically what happened. I guess it happens every time. It happened with tariffs the first time, is that stocks went down, bond yields went up, and eventually he chickened out. And that's basically what happened this time too. He announced that we weren't going to use military force. The first thing he said during his speech was that we won't use military force. So I'll play that. I guess this was predictable.
We never asked for anything, and we never got anything. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force.
There you go. So that was it. That was the first step. So not using military force, the stock market rallied immediately. And then he went into a meeting. I have him talking shit about Canada too. But then he went into a meeting and then he released this statement. So you guys decide what's going to happen. He said, based upon a very productive meeting that I had with the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, we have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. This solution, if consummated, will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. Based upon this understanding, I will not be imposing the tariffs that were scheduled to go into effect on February 1st. Additional discussions are being held concerning the Golden Dome as it pertains to Greenland. Further information will be made available as discussions progress. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and various others as needed will be responsible for the negotiations. They will report directly to me. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So there you go. I know that someone in the chat says we're getting Greenland, but it doesn't sound like it. Sounds like there's a deal. We can do the Golden Dome, but I remember all of those things being offered to us already. So I'd be surprised if it's much different than the deal we could have gotten without all the threats and drama and stock market turmoil and so forth, and gold spiking and all of that. And it's questionable whether the damage done with all the threats is totally reversible. It seems like this is going to stick in people's minds. And as far as NATO not helping us, the only time Article 5 in the NATO whatever got implemented was after 9/11, when other countries, including Denmark, sent soldiers to fight our stupid wars in the Middle East. After the American government basically did a false flag on us, our new Pearl Harbor, and blew up those buildings, we decided to attack Iraq and Afghanistan, and other countries came to our aid back then. So he's saying people wouldn't come to our aid, but the only time it's ever happened, they did come to our aid. So we don't really have a basis for saying that necessarily. We are dominant, though. We have the big military. That is true. We spend the most money on it. And we want to spend even more, amazingly. But lucky we didn't have to buy Greenland, because it would have cost us $700 billion, which we don't have. And we would have had to sell, I guess, $700 billion in treasury bills to people who don't want to buy them. So it would have been disastrous for us to have to come up with that kind of money, which we don't have. to buy Greenland to achieve what we already could achieve without owning it. They already like us, or they did like us, but they still like us enough to let us build our Golden Dome, the Golden Dome. So anyway, Golden Dome, missile defense, etc. Missiles, if they come from Russia or China, would have to go over that block of ice. So that's why we need our Golden Dome there. We already have a Space Force base there, but we are welcome to set up as many bases as we want, apparently, and we're also welcome to dig around for stuff that's underneath the ice, which apparently is kind of difficult to do because of the ice. But global warming, the ice is melting, supposedly. So here he threatened Canada a little bit, so couldn't get away without kind of talking shit to Mark Carney, who talked about us yesterday. So let me just play that clip for you.
To just by its very nature, going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements. What we did to just by its very nature,
there you go. It started over again. So Canada lives because the United. It's kind of true. I mean, we do protect everybody. They were squirming. They were going to submit. Basically, they did want to submit because they really are kind of helpless without us. Europe is. I mean, I'm not going to say that Europe is amazing. Europe is a loser continent at this time. They just complain and they set up regulations and then they steal money from our companies. They basically they fine our companies and make more money fining our big tech companies than they make in taxes from their own productive companies. So the only thing Europe does is regulate things. They're kind of, and then they bring in a lot of third world immigrants to destroy their countries. So he's not wrong, and they are weak and pathetic in many ways, and they were probably going to submit one way or the other, and I'm sure they're very happy that Trump has chickened out on this one. So, but we didn't make any friends in the process. So anyway, there he is talking about Mark Carney, who basically said the world order was a fraud yesterday. He basically said the whole world order, where we all pretended that we followed the rules and we benefited from it, was basically just fake. And we all need to just look out for ourselves nowadays. So that was kind of an amazing thing that he said, which not many people captured. He basically said that globalism, that the world order where we all pretended to be good and nice and doing things for the public good was all kind of a fraud. He did kind of say that yesterday. And we need to recognize that it's a fraud. So here's what NATO said. And once again, for the person that wanted to bet that we're getting Greenland, here's what NATO said about it. Statement from NATO spokesperson Allison Hart regarding President Trump's announcement of a concept of a deal related to Greenland. Quote, the Secretary General had a very productive meeting with President Trump during which they discussed the critical significance of security in the Arctic region to all allies, including the United States. Discussions among NATO allies on the framework the president referenced will focus on ensuring Arctic security through the collective efforts of allies, especially the 7 Arctic allies. Negotiations between Denmark, Greenland, and the United States will go forward, aimed at ensuring that Russia and China never gain a foothold economically or militarily in Greenland, unquote. So there we go. That is what we did to achieve our goals, is we made sure that Russia and China are not going to take Greenland, which was already pretty much the case before. So you could say nothing's changed or nothing was really gained, that we couldn't have had another way. You could certainly say that, and I would say that. we could have, this was something that could have happened without all of the nonsense, but we like the nonsense, I guess, here. Otherwise we wouldn't have news to report on. Here's Trump talking about it, and you can decide what, and kind of just not exactly explaining exactly what happened, but here's Trump discussing the deal in as much as he could with somebody interviewing him at the World Economic Forum here.
Can you go into what you just talked about with the NATO meeting?
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to
deal.
be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal.
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's a kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does Denmark, did they weigh in on what they want, what they would agree to?
Well, I assume they did because he very much represents, he's a strong leader. Mark, you know, Mark Rutte. And he, I assume he's been speaking to them. He's been speaking to all of them.
Are mineral rights involved? Is ownership involved? Did the Golden Dome sway people?
I don't want to say yet, but
the Golden Dome was very compelling today when you talked about that.
Yeah, the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
It's not specific enough to know at this point how long this lasts, whether it's forever.
It'll be forever.
For Greenland at this point.
Yeah, forever.
That's staggering.
That's better than a 99.
This is what, 2 hours after.
It's better than the Obama deal with the famous Iran nuclear deal with a 9-year deal. No, this is forever. This is a long term.
He's super low energy, right? Like it does seem like he just kind of just drones on. There's no animation to him these days. Especially in his press conference yesterday. He came out with a binder. He was talking about how great everything was after the first year. But it was this same kind of energy. Just super low energy. But the deal is forever. Yeah, as long as we have allies and stuff. They don't care if we set up our missile shields and all of that. Here is him being asked once again if it includes ownership of Greenland and not saying.
Does it still include you? Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you've said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals and everything else.
How long is it, Mr. President?
Have you already spoken to other European leaders?
Yes, I have.
How long would the deal be, Mr. President?
Infinite.
Infinite.
There is no time limit. It's forever.
And how would you ratify the deal?
It's signed forever.
But you haven't signed anything yet, right?
It's a deal that's forever.
Will there be an effect anyway? Will there be an effect?
What happens is people are out there and they're working it right now. They're working the details of the deal, but it's what's called an infinite deal. It's forever.
You talked about.
There you go. So once again, it's a forever deal. He said he didn't want to rent. I mean, he just has gone back on what he said. That's all. That's why the taco. That's the taco. He said he had to own it. He said he had to have title. Now it's like we're renting it forever. That's all. Somebody said $1 for 100 years or something. It's like we're renting, just like we already kind of were. He said he had to have title, that he wouldn't back down, all that stuff. But all that just seems to have totally gone by the wayside today. But good. That's good. It's good. Nobody, lower approval ratings for us acquiring Greenland than there were for Trump not releasing the Epstein files. So I could have shown you some polling about that, but Epstein files are not being released. He may have changed the subject he changed the subject. He did change the subject to where people were talking a lot more about Greenland and forgot about the Epstein files. But in terms of popularity, he's even less popular as far as acquiring Greenland, whether we bought it or invaded it. Invasion was like really unpopular. Only like 9% of people, I think, wanted us to invade Greenland. And then another small percentage even wanted us to acquire Greenland. Nobody was interested. It was super low approval, even less popular than he was on the Epstein files, which he's minus 38 points on, minus 40 points on acquiring Greenland. So we didn't do it. Stocks are up, like the guy said, 600 points today, recovered most of what they lost yesterday. Bond yields are down. Bond yields are down in Japan. They must have intervened. So for now, crisis averted. So on to the next crisis. Let's play some more things that happened at the World Economic Forum. This is just Scott Bessent being like super out of touch, talking about how they don't want to reduce the price of housing, but he wants to make housing more affordable somehow. One of the ways was going to be to bring down mortgage rates by buying mortgage-backed securities, which we promised to do to the tune of $200 billion. So he was going to spend $200 billion buying mortgage-backed securities, which would make the price go up and yields go down. And for a second, mortgage rates went down and they were below 6%. Then all this stuff with tariffs, Greenland, bond yields spiked, and mortgage rates are right back up to where they were before he said he was going to buy mortgage-backed securities. They're right back up to like 6.2% on average. The other way he's talking about bringing down housing prices is by banning big like funds from buying, like Blackstone. I think it's Blackstone that buys properties, not BlackRock. Preventing those kind of firms from buying properties because there was a conspiracy theory that that was what was making housing expensive. But I call it a conspiracy theory because apparently they only account for like 1.8% of all of single family home purchasers. They were a very, very, very small part of the market. And there's no evidence that they actually drove up the price of housing. But that is one of the things that they want to, that he wants Congress, I guess, to enact. He maybe signed, he either signed an executive order or he just said that they were going to be banned from buying single family homes so that homes wouldn't be so expensive. But this is Scott Bessent clarifying that individuals can still buy lots of homes and just being out of touch with what most individuals are like. So here he is.
We are going to give guidance at some point to see what is a mom and pop that someone, maybe your parents for their retirement, bought 5, 10, 12 homes. So we don't want to push the mom and pops out. We just want to push everyone else out. We're going to
maybe your parents for their retirement bought so everybody can relate to that, I'm sure. So he was talking to Maria Bartiromo there at the World Economic Forum. He's like, yeah, your parents, they might have bought like 12 houses for their retirement. We are not going to stop them. So it's not about stopping people from having multiple homes as corporations and buying them for their retirement. And they also don't want the price of housing to come down because people will be upset if that happens. It looks like that's actually going to happen anyway. I have news about that. I'll show you now. Pending home sales were just announced and they fell 9.3% month over month. And it was only expected to fall 0.3%. So we might be seeing the beginning of the housing market crash, or at least the housing market price correction that is going to happen most likely beginning this year. So for a long time, prices have been frozen, but eventually prices are going to come down based on based on the way the market is right now, which is that there are a lot more people trying to sell their homes for too much money and a lot less people who want to pay what people are offering their houses for. So far, the people who want to sell their homes for too much money aren't willing to drop their prices, but the people who are unwilling to buy the homes are also not willing to pay their prices. So something is eventually going to break in the housing market, which is necessary, but could be economically bad, when considering that people have so much of their savings in their houses, particularly boomers who bully people with all the money they have. So here's the talk about digital assets and possibly CBDCs. Larry Fink of BlackRock says everything is going to be digital. He's probably thinking that we also will have CBDCs. So here's Larry Fink talking about that.
I think the movement towards tokenization, decimalization is necessary. It's ironic that we see two emerging countries leading the world in in the tokenization and digitization of their currency. That's Brazil and India. I think we need to move very rapidly to doing that. We would be reducing fees. We would do more democratization by reducing more fees if we had all investments on a tokenized platform that you could move from a tokenized money market fund to equities and bonds and back and forth. We have one common blockchain. We will, we could reduce corruption. So I would argue that yes, we have more dependencies on maybe one blockchain, which we could all talk about. But that being said, the activities are probably processed and more secure than ever. I think the movement towards
digital everything, including digital real estate, you'll be able to own if what he's talking about decimalization. You'll be able to own fractions of houses possibly in the future. You won't be able to live in it, but you can buy like 0.1 of one house, maybe, just like you can buy as little or as much Bitcoin as you want. You'll be able to buy as little or as much real estate as you want, or stocks or anything else. Everything will be digital, according to Larry Fink. Everything will be digital in the future, also our money, but watch out for CBDCs. Watch out for CBDCs because this is the French central banker talking about how it's a threat. Right now, I'm not worried about CBDCs in particular because we have private money right now. USDC is American money that's private and global, and anybody can buy it, and people do buy it, and it's going to be the most popular thing. Everything having to do with cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency regulation has to do with digital dollars, and digital dollars dominate. There's no big digital euro or digital yuan or digital anything else that's as big as digital dollars, and that can help us maintain dollar dominance, which is actually good. We want that. We want to maintain dollar dominance. And we can do that without CBDCs, with private money, which we have from American corporations. But this guy, who's French, doesn't want American money dominating. So he wants CBDCs.
As I am a central banker, let me insist a bit on, at least I gave a speech 2 weeks ago with a triangle of threats and a triangle of answer, but let me sum up. The first threat is privatization of money and loss of sovereignty for many jurisdictions. And we know this is a real fear, especially in emerging countries. But if we have only a currency in the future, which is private, and let us be honest, which is issued by American issuers, private companies, then we will have a question on sovereignty. Here the answer is CBDC. As I am a central banker,
says the answer is CBDCs. So central bank digital currencies. But if people already are in other countries, instead of buying Bitcoin, this is one of the competitor to Bitcoin actually, is actually the US dollar. Because instead of buying Bitcoin to save themselves from hyperinflation in their own countries, people just buy digital dollars the same way on the same blockchains, because you can buy it on the Ethereum blockchain, you can buy it on the Solana blockchain. I have dollars I have USDC. When I, sell cryptocurrency, I don't turn it into dollars, the normal dollars. I turn them into digital dollars, and then later I can turn them back into something else digital. So I already exist a lot on the blockchain, and I like the digital dollars to store value as opposed to things that lose value. So like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana have been doing over the last year that Trump has been president. So digital dollars actually might save us as Americans in maintaining dollar dominance, but we don't want CBDCs where the dollars can be printed into existence from nothing. The big difference is that digital currency now, USDC and Tether, they actually have to get dollars that already exist and convert them into digital dollars, theoretically at least, and supposedly they're audited and supposedly they're real. USDC is an American company, and first they exchange dollars that already exist and turn them into digital dollars. And then if you want to exchange your digital dollars back to the central bank currencies, the other kind of digital dollar, everything's digital now anyway. But if you want to turn it back into a central bank currency, you just exchange it, you sell it back to them, and then they give you back the dollars, and it's fully reserved banking rather than fractionally reserved banking, which is good. USDC theoretically cannot simply be created into existence out of nothing the way central bank digital currencies could be created out of nothing. And that is a control mechanism and would be very bad. So that's what that's what central bankers want, though. They want to control everything. Then they can control what you spend it on. Then they can control as of right now, you can send your USDC to somebody for drugs, theoretically, if they take it. You can send it to anybody who would take it. You could send it to on the blockchain and nobody could stop it. A central bank digital currency could be programmed so that you couldn't spend it on soda, cannabis, alcohol, whatever else they don't want you to spend it on. So that is bad. Cryptocurrency, the way it exists so far, is good, but they want to make it evil. Here is Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, talking about Bitcoin and explaining it to him to someone who says they prefer central bank money to Bitcoin. And he explains why that's a fallacy.
I trust more independent central banks with a democratic mandate than private issuers of Bitcoin, which have a very useful role. But
Bitcoin is a decentralized protocol. There's actually no issuer of it. So that's in the sense that central banks have independence. Bitcoin is even more independent. There's no country or company or individual who controls it in the world. And so anyway, I think it's a healthy competition because if people can decide which one they trust more. And I think it's actually the greatest accountability mechanism on deficit spending.
I trust more independent central banks.
I agree with that. It's supposed to be, and maybe eventually will be, a safety, something for safety, something that protects you from inflation and protects you from governments acting badly. That's what it should be. That's what it was designed to be. There's only ever going to be 21 million of them, unlike central bank digital currencies, which are infinite. So in theory, over time, if you bought Bitcoin today, in 10 years, it'll definitely be worth more. I should say that. So it is, it will exist forever, and it will be worth more than fiat currencies, which are going to be worth nothing. Right now, and over the last year, people have shown a preference for the older forms of money, which are silver and gold. And now that you can get gold in a digital form, it competes with Bitcoin a little bit. So it just competes. That's all. There's just competition for money. And gold is a lot older. It's been around a lot longer. So anyway, that's that. That's him talking about explaining to them why Bitcoin is better. So getting to immigration, one thing that went unnoticed by a lot of people during yesterday's long speech by Trump. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of Trump becoming president, was that he actually doesn't want to kick out illegal immigrants. Not all of them. The thing about this illegal immigrant deportation process, which some people point out, is that it could be done a lot better. We could just make it so that employers can't hire illegal or can't pay illegal immigrants. It is possible. We have the technology to make sure that you can't hire illegal immigrants. And we refuse to go down that road. And you have to ask yourself why. Because the Koch brothers and other conservatives forever just want cheap labor, because cheap labor helps the economy go round. And that's why we traditionally, Republicans and Democrats, could never fix the border situation, could never come to agree on a comprehensive immigration policy forever and ever and ever, because both parties actually like illegal immigration. And even Donald Trump likes illegal aliens. And here he admits it. So.
Many countries opened up their prisons and dropped them into the United States. Those are the people who are getting out. And we have a lot of heart. They said, you got to lighten up on this. We have a lot of heart for people. They came in illegally, but they're good people, and they're working now on farms, and they're working in luncheonettes and hotels and all. And we're looking to get the criminals out right now, the criminals. And I think it's very important. I mean, every once in a while you see a story, we take somebody. He should be out because they came in illegally. So in theory, they should be. But we're focused on the murderers, the drug dealers, the mentally insane. We have a lot of mentally insane killers. I mean, you can't even talk to them. It'd be nice if you could have a little reason, but you can't even reason. These are seriously ill people. You have a couple of countries where they were loaded up. Their mental institutions and insane asylums were loaded to the gills.
Oh, you heard what he said. He said, we have a heart. It's crazy. He just prefers certain industries is all it is. Farmers, luncheonettes, he said, and hotel workers. I guess it's because he was in the hotel business. Some industries complained to him that we shouldn't deport their illegals. And because he doesn't like hurting his friends in industries that he likes, there are certain industries which are not ever going to be rated by ICE. Farms, hotels, pretty much. And I don't know, luncheonettes. I don't even know what a luncheonette is. But otherwise, we are deporting people who are working. DoorDash drivers appear to be fair game. Nurses or people working at hospitals appear to be fair game. But hotel workers, farm workers, we seem to, Trump said, he just said it. We're not deporting them. We don't want to deport them. So it's a very schizophrenic type of enforcement. But that's him. So he's clearly states that some illegals have to go, but not the good ones. So some people are being right to point that out. As far as Fourth Amendment violations, this is the local police talking about what ICE is supposedly doing. And then there are people who say ICE should be able to do this, and there are people who say ICE shouldn't be allowed to do this. So here is the story from a police officer of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, talking about the calls he's getting from people who are pulled over without probable cause, basically.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Ruley, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day. It has to stop.
There you go. So that was that. I was listening to Tim Pool. He played that clip, which I was surprised about. And that was like, oh, what's the big deal? So that's the part I can't get my head around. Where they're like, oh, a normal person would show their ID and be happy about it. Which is fine if you have your ID, but they're stopping people walking. I mean, I've played videos of it. They stop people walking down the street. And yeah, you usually have your ID on you, but they're not allowed to stop you. They're not allowed to. So I've shown plenty of videos. And that's what people see that they don't like, which is why it's hard to say that the protesters are all totally out of line, because they're going around trying to film ICE to make sure that they're not breaking the law. And it just seems like they're breaking the law. That's all. The protesters are crazy in a lot of cases. And in a lot of cases, ICE is apparently after bad people. But there must be a way to go about it. And unless the Trump administration is willing to admit that some of this stuff is going on, then it's just going to continue to go badly for them. That's all. In the court of public opinion, with particularly swing voters. Republicans still like it. Republicans still, for some reason, even though they were against government forcing you to take a vaccine, they're in support of government forcing you to show your ID when they're actually not allowed to do that. So that's where we're at with that. I've seen enough videos to know that it's happening. They also just passed a thing or they just said that they're doing warrantless, they can, without a warrant, break into your house. So they just said that they have the right to do that, which once again is my understanding is not legal under our Constitution. Our Fourth Amendment protects us from that. So that's my thoughts on that. That was a video about that. Switching topics, the Board of Peace is going exceedingly wrong. Nobody wants to join from what we would normally have considered respectable countries, but people do want to join from what we would normally consider not respectable countries, especially Israel. And also the Board of Peace in the documents does not mention Gaza at all. It's apparently trying to replace the UN. So Trump has invited pretty much everybody, which I like other countries. I like Muslim countries and stuff, but it's a bunch of Muslim countries that have been invited to join. And apparently Israel is joining anyway, but it's something designed to supersede the United Nations in some way, with Trump as leader forever based on the documents. And then there's this $1 billion fee, which nobody knows where it goes to. But there was a statement put out by Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, Indonesia, Pakistan, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, which I think are all Muslim countries, all have joined the Board of Peace. And many of them are dictatorships. Maybe most of them, actually. As far as like human rights in their own countries, they don't really have them. So that is who has joined the Board of Peace. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, Indonesia, Pakistan, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Yeah, most of them are run by monarchies or dictatorships. Most of them have no such thing as human rights. And they have joined the Board of Peace, and none of our European allies so far have decided to join, except for Tony Blair, who's a war criminal. So we do have a few war criminals in charge, but the Board of Peace and the Gaza thing is, the peace in Gaza is definitely up in the air, whether that is going to hold, because Hamas probably won't give up their weapons. So we're expecting things to escalate again in Gaza, most likely. So that one of the 8 wars that were stopped is probably going to fall apart. And finally, there is some news that we are going to reveal the existence of aliens. There was a statement put out in the British press about warning of economic collapse or bank collapses once it's revealed that aliens are real. It seems like everybody left and right is revealing in some way that aliens are real. Here's Anna Paulina Luna talking about interdimensional beings.
You're on the record talking about, quote, non-human life forms that could be interdimensional beings who are visiting us. Can you just explain more to people at home what that might mean?
Yeah, so that's definitely a mouthful, but that is directly based on information that we've received from witnesses, also information that we have obtained and witnessed via our investigations. There's some stuff that I can't disclose of what I have immediately seen in some of these skiffs, but what I will tell you is this is not just some crazy conspiracy theory. Obviously, there's been massive reporting, not just in the United States, but around the world. And this is something that I think everyone kind of, has always had some curiosity about. We're just simply asking the questions.
Yeah, you're on the record.
Interdimensional beings. This is the comment I've seen the most about the ICE asking for your papers, which is that non-citizens don't have a Fourth Amendment. That's great, but they can't tell the difference. They just stop people who aren't white. They don't know the difference. You can't tell by looking at someone if they're a citizen or not. And that's what they're doing. So it's great that non-citizens don't have a Fourth Amendment, but citizens do. And you can't tell the difference by looking at someone. And they're stopping people just by looking at them, stopping their cars and stopping them on the street. And I've shown videos of it, and you just saw a report of that. Citizens do have Fourth Amendment, and there's no way to tell. So that's why we have rights, sort of. That's why there's something called due process, basically. So I appreciate that non-citizens don't have a Fourth Amendment. So if they know that it's a non-citizen, then they get a warrant and they do things by the book. So anyway, yeah, that's the comment I see quite a bit, but it's great. If they knew, if they had telepathy and only stopped non-immigrants illegally, then that would be fine, I suppose. But that's the problem, though. That is the issue, is they're identifying people basically just because they're not white, for the most part. Oh, I have one more clip. That's weird. I have one more clip of Andrew Tate saying how to stop anti-Semitism. It's just an interesting theory. So let me play that.
If young men could get a girlfriend and buy a house, anti-Semitism would disappear. No. Yes, it would. All this online hatred towards Jews would disappear if young men could buy a house and get a girlfriend. Actually, yes, it's that simple. Because young men are not sitting, I would argue. And
the part about what he's saying is right.
Young men aren't sitting there.
I want to hear what you're saying, but he is. But he's
Can the guy who deals with anti-Semitism weigh in on anti-Semitism?
Of course.
For a second, guy?
Yes, sir. Yes. If young men could get a girlfriend and buy a house.
It would all be so simple then. So there you go. So if you could, if young men could just get a girlfriend and buy a house, it would make people more relaxed, I guess. Then they wouldn't think about it as much, maybe. So there it is. So anti-Semitism would stop if you could get a girlfriend. All right, let me check our super chats. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see if we can make any good YouTube shorts out of this content. Who knows? We will check the AI. Apparently there's news that YouTube will allow us YouTube creators, us like me, to create YouTube shorts that are just entirely synthetic in the future, that'll use our likeness and make a YouTube short out of it somehow, but I would be fake. So look out for that in the future. Apparently that's coming in 2026. I knew it was coming. I predicted it. I've predicted it for a long time. YouTube has all of the information they could ever need to simulate me and make me live forever and never age and be probably just about as entertaining, if not more entertaining, than the version of me that is actually alive and breathes air. So Christina bought 3 coffees. Thank you. Thank you, Christina, who says, thanks, Nathan. Thank you for that, Christina. 3 coffees. That goes a long way. Thank you. August Bullock bought a coffee and said, thanks for the real news. Appreciate you. Thank you, August. All right. That's great. We got 4 coffees today. That's enough for coffee and donuts tomorrow to fuel our pickleball domination. Allison says, nearing 100K. I'm actually going backwards from 100K. I started at 100K and I'm actually going backwards every day, but I appreciate you. That's all right though. I understand. Now we actually are in reverse at all times, but we have some people who tune in and appreciate the show and we like that. So, but yeah, overall the number is not going up, it's going down, but that's okay. That's okay. It just happens. I built up my subscribers doing different kinds of content, and those subscribers don't like getting notifications all the time. That's all, since I'm not doing the same kind of content at these times. Now we talk about the news for the most part, which some people really like, and I appreciate you. Thanks, Allison. I appreciate you. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Don't think that it's not a great show though, because it is. We bring you the real news, the real effing news every day. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you, should be tomorrow around the same time, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. There's a big storm coming. I didn't tell you about, but that's all over the news. There's a big ice storm coming that's going to fry the entire country. So get ready for that if you live within its path. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you at the next one. For now, that's what it is.